Just your grandma? Are you sure, Chief? I think that's kind of unfair. I think at this point you should just get your entire family tree to start subscribing. But in all seriousness, we are today flying out the F-86K. It's the French version, but the Italian as well as the French one are the same vehicle, other than slight differences in terms of the matchmaker. The plane itself is the same thing. I was preparing to fly out this thing regardless, and then Don't Stay Easy gave me a little bit of a reason to, so thank you for giving me a laugh. Because, well, this thing, it actually has been kind of alright. I still really dislike this plane, and it's definitely off meta. You do have some pretty nice chances in dogfights, but you need to make sure that you start in either an advantageous position or you start in a huddle. Because if you get someone that starts on your 6, you are just going to die. You need to drain people of energy, and you can do so. You have pretty good retention, you have pretty good energy generation, especially at medium to low speed. But you don't have any pull. Your AOA is limited, your turn rate, like your instantaneous turn rate, is extremely limited. And you can tell it right here, the MiG-17 is gaining on me like nothing else. He is just cutting inside of my loop all day long. So he is going to get very close. Luckily, it's still a Sabre, it still has very good roll rate, so you can get out of these situations by just defensive flying a little bit. And you want to make sure that you don't bring too much fuel. This thing drinks fuel like nothing else, but if you take too much, you just become an absolute shit brick. And if you do that, well, if you take more than 20, maybe 30, while this thing is great at late game, if you bring too much fuel, you are not going to be surviving until the late game. So you might as well bring a little bit less. Because with a full tank with 30 to 45 minutes, you are going to struggle out accelerating an F2 Sabre. Which isn't exactly interesting, because you're only like 10 kilometers an hour faster. And he completely outturns you. If he puts his cursor on you, he's probably going to win the dogfight if you bring too much fuel. Which is not a great look. The MiG-17 is still riding my ass. F2 comes in thinking it's a relay race. MiG-17 is playing a different game, so they both stick on me. I would like one of them to be swapped out. Soon enough here, one will break off probably, because I do have some teammates around. And there goes the F2, which is great. And I'm now gonna try and dogfight the MiG-17. How do I want to dogfight this MiG-17? Right now I got a little bit of separation. I'm in a better position than I was at the start. So I'm gonna use the fact that I'm a lot faster right now to reel him in pretty quickly and see if I can start draining him of energy. I need to get him close, I need to get him in a position where he can't just put his cursor on me. And we are on pretty low fuel amounts here, so we are not as heavy as we could be. So I'm just bringing this guy out a little bit, trying to get as far away from his team as possible. And then I'm gonna show you the Tango with a MiG-17. He's on very, very low fuel as well at this point. And I'm just gonna wait for this guy to start reeling us in. I'm going to air brake a little bit. And that's because I want him to be faster than us, so he actually overshoots. Because the second he does so, we can start running an energy trap. We do not turn well enough, we are not fast enough to gain separation at a quick enough pace. So I'm just forced to kind of slow down here, try to make him overshoot and use my roll rate to our advantage. So right now we are pretty much equal. He flies straight for a little bit, and we are not going to be able to get the shot off. Now he made a very big mistake here by going straight, because he gave us a lot of positioning, and by doing so we can simply go up and stall this guy out. Because right now we are on his 6, and it means that he has to do basically a full 180 to get on our 6 again, which is going to cost him a lot of energy, and energy is something we have in spades. So that's definitely playing into our hands, and right now we're just gonna turn after this guy. We can flat turn after him all day long, because I'm gaining at 670 kilometers an hour right now, which is pretty damn solid. And I can keep this up all day long. The MiG-17 is losing speed as we are doing this, and I am gaining it. So after a certain while, I'm just gonna go vertical here. If he decides to follow it, he dies. If he doesn't, I'm going to get positioning, because I break off the loop a little bit. And you can tell I'm going to get my nose a lot closer this time. He then goes vertical to try and dodge us. Unfortunately for him, we have enough ability here to pull right into him and set him on fire. And that's going to be the first kill of the game. We then go to land, which is going to create an absolutely amazing opportunity to again thank all my Patreons. Thank you all very much for sticking around. And thank you all again for pressing the red button. And if you haven't, then you better make sure I have a reason to thank you in the next video. And otherwise I'm going to get your grandmother to subscribe instead. And after taking off, we have a little bit of a problem on our hands, because it's a 1v4. Or at least it's 2v4 right now. There we go, it is 1v4. So how do I want to go about this? There's an F2 around. And there's two A4Es. The A4Es here are not the main issue. It's definitely going to be the F2 Sabre, as well as a bomber that's somewhere on the map. But we will cross that bridge once we get to it. He is full sending that head-on, which is very dangerous, because we don't really have the ability to pull out of it very easily, because this thing is just a brick. It doesn't turn very well, as I said before, at least not in the short term. It does come alive if you go into this prolonged fight, but even then, very often people can just break off, they can just dive out, gain some speed back, and you can energy trap these people forever. But if you are in the carry situation, you are gonna have a little bit of a struggle, but it does reward you if you play it right, at least in the late game. Early game, you cannot really do anything. If you get 2v1, if you get 3v1, especially with the entire team just collapsing on you, what are you gonna be doing? Absolutely nothing. So you want to do a little bit of work early game, but you definitely want to be alive once the enemy team starts dying, and once the enemy team is, well, consists out of like 2 or 3 guys. F2 is RTB, which is great for us, because that means that we can start 2v1ing these A4Es. The A4Es, we are basically their kryptonite. They can do very little to us, because they do not turn very well either. We have a better acceleration, we have a better top speed, we don't break our wings off, and the main thing is, we hold our speed. The A4E bleeds all of its speed extremely quickly. We break off that head-on, we crit him, and he is going to be basically out of the match. An A4E without crit is already pretty much dead to us, but once he actually takes some damage, well, he is not going to get very far. We go directly over him, we wait for him to pitch up for us. If he doesn't, he dies, and if he does, well, he also dies because he's a crit A4, so we're going to pull down on him. And he is trying to go head on with us, but he is succumbing to his damages. He is just falling out of the air, and there he goes, he's actually stalled out. So we click him out of the air. One thing about the F-86K, the guns might sound like 7mm. They also sometimes feel like them, but they're basically the F2 guns, but with half the rate of fire. They're the same guns as on the F-89s, or the F-89B only actually. And they can be kind of annoying, but at least, since the fire rate is so low, you can also shoot for a long time. So if you miss, you won't miss like 20 to 40 rounds. The problem is that if you do hit, you probably also only hit 2 or 3 rounds instead of like 8. And here's the F2, he just landed, he just took off, and we are on roughly the same fuel right now because of that. Because he is also on min fuel, which means that we can be kind of close. He gets those shots pretty close, as well as these. I want to be kind of careful of this, so I want to keep moving around. And at this point he's energy trapped, and there's very little he can do as long as he doesn't get help from his teammate. So we pull down after him, and this is exactly what you want to do. You want to dive out, you want to go as fast as you can, and you want to make sure that I overshoot. Because if I overshoot this thing, I just simply die. So I'm going to make sure that that doesn't happen. So I'm going to do something we don't do very often on the channel, and we are going to go 0 throttle air brake. So even though I want to maintain all my speed, I want to make sure that I can energy trap this guy. In this situation right here, I actually want to make sure that I just don't overshoot, and if he goes slow enough, just like right here, it doesn't matter how much more maneuverable you are. If I have enough distance and I'm going slower than you, you simply cannot do anything about it. And here's the other A4E. We are going to go straight up, and we are going to go into a little bit of a spiral, and notice that he's going horizontal here. He's trying to drop a little bit to pick up some speed. I don't want that. I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive, so I'm going to turn down on him. I'm going to do the same thing as him to deny him the angle, and now he is stuck in this fight, and he will not be getting out of it. Well, he will not be getting out of it until he manages to die. So I keep this loop up, or this horizontal turn actually, and again I'm just holding 700 until I drop my afterburner, so I don't want to run out of fuel, and I have enough energy anyway, so we can do that. So we're going to turn in. Just keep turning in, and eventually he will run out of energy. He then decides to switch his loop to turn back into us. It's going to cost him a lot of energy, and it's going to give him no shot at all. So we turn the other way as well, and then we just proceed to turn after him again. And we can do this all day long, because we are just going so much faster. We just have so much more retention than this guy, that we are eventually going to get the shot. So we get the shot here, we miss it because he just rolls out of the way, and then he goes and hugs the tree. And that was the first game. Not quite 5. It was 4 plus a crash, which we basically killed. But this guy asked for an ace, not a theoretical ace. So instead of that, we're just gonna go and proceed to get 7 this match to absolutely flex on his grandma. So what we did this game was we went to the side over the ocean, behind the mountains, loop back in, and we are just behind the entire enemy team, which is great because this thing early game presence, as I said before, is not very strong. But if you can come in from a blind spot, Especially with the missiles, you might be able to poke in some damage. And this is how you shoot open. You don't want to go full in. You don't want to start dogfighting everyone. Because if anyone sees you doing that and they are not occupied and they decide to start diving on you, well, you're gonna end up like that AV-8. He is busy with 2 guys. I come in from the side and we just gun him out of the air real quick. I do want to stay kind of vigilant here, because there's a lot of guys around us potentially. It's the start of the match. Everyone is still alive. And I don't know where everyone is. Lane 5 goes head on with Gunpot Gary in his A4E. Gets taken down. And we are going to switch over to the MiG-15 over there. And the MiG-15 right now is busy with an A-10. He's actually committing to him. He's going straight vertical. So I'm going to prime my missile in case he turns the other way. But he doesn't do that. So we turn it back off. And we just shoot him out of the air, because he is completely occupied with the A-10. He really wants that free kill and ends up with absolutely nothing. MiG-15 above and behind, but we are fast enough to the point where if he dives on us right now, we can just dive out and we will outrun him. So he is not exactly a threat right now. Here I can go for the G91 or the MiG-17. I can't really choose. The G91 is turning the other way and he would be a prime target looking at the MiG-17 right now. But at this point I decided to go for the MiG-17. Probably a mistake. We have to pull off here. 2 of our teammates crash. But if I had gone for the G91 right there, he would have probably been dead, because he gave us his 6 and we would be just reeling him in very quickly. Instead we go for the MiG-17 that ended up dying without our help regardless. So a little bit of a misplay, but we all make mistakes in the heat of passion, Jimbo. AV-8 is now climbing in front of us. He is not particularly fast, so we should be able to cut him off here. He's gonna go suicidal. He goes head on. And he just goes too late. He tries to commit last second. We predict his turn. And we just click on him. Not the best play from him, but, you know, it's great for us, so no big deal. We shoot a missile at the G91 just in case he's flying straight and he doesn't pay attention. And then I see an occupied MiG-15 with a J29 on the 6. We were breaking off. I thought the J29 had it. And then the guy we set on fire shoots a missile his way. So now I want to kill this MiG-15 as quickly as we can, because I want to make sure that I capitalize on the fact that he's going very slow right now. We push a little bit of a head on, we dodge his guns, and we are going to be turning back into him, but at this point he already got most of his energy back. Or at least to actually start dodging us. It is a MiG-15 after all. We are still much faster than him, we still have quite the advantage, and we have multiple people around. A3 goes head on again with the MiG-15. The MiG-15 isn't having any of it, and he's just trying to dive out. We prematurely already cut our throttle. Want to make sure that he doesn't start reversing us, and we just shoot him and he doesn't move, so he gets clicked out of the match. So we fly towards their airfield to see if we can find any more victims. AV-8 coming in. He's already pretty faring like an absolute unit, so he's probably going to be an AV-8A for reasons I will not disclose. You can probably assume so for yourself. And we are going to do a flat turn here. We are not going to lose too much energy. I want to maintain about 800 to 900, and he is doing a full turn as well. But the Harrier at these speeds just burns his speed completely. He's going so slow right now. And if he doesn't use his thrust vectoring, he is going to be losing this fight. I'm turning up after him. And considering he was pre-flaring against an F-86K in the head-on, he probably doesn't really know what he's doing. He's trying to fly away from us. He's trying to out-accelerate us when we are already riding a 6. And I can already see this guy crashing. You see the hill coming in. Or this mountain rather, as we call it in the Netherlands. He slams into it, but we already had 5, and I really wanted his grandma and his dad and his great-grandmother to all subscribe to us, so I wanted to make sure that I killed as many people as possible in this one match. The G91 then takes off, he shoots a missile at us, and we already have him energy trapped right here. So I'm zero throttling, I'm trying to get as closely on him as humanly possible. We crit him instantly, and then we go up, we turn the afterburner back on, and we are going to start looping just like we did in the 3 videos last week. And we're gonna keep on turning after this guy, and there's nothing he can really do. The G91 doesn't have the best retention. Now sure, if we both are in a very low speed fight and he has enough energy, he can just pull up into us. But he's already crit, he's already damaged. And we just continue to pepper him until he finally dies. We air brake a little bit more to cut off his flight. And then we click on him and down goes the G91. And that's 7 kills in 1 game without landing. Thank you very much for subscribing, everyone. Or at least don't say easy's grandmother. For the last game I got another, I think it's 3 or 4v1. We go head on with an F2 Sabre. There's also a guy on his right, but I'm not really worried about him right now. We just commit a little bit too long. We shoot and we set him on fire. If we hadn't hit him right there, we probably would have lost this game, so it's a good thing we did. And I'm just gonna put it into a little bit of a vertical. This MiG-15 still has to do a 180. He was He wasn't going fast enough. And we just completely dust this guy with our energy retention. And look at this. Look at this separation. We already have a pretty hefty energy advantage right now. I'm gonna guess approximately 350,063 newtons. And then we just put it into a little bit of a horizontal. Look at this. Nothing he can do. And he will cut into us very quickly here. And that's because it's a MiG-15. He's probably on min fuel looking at his performance. So we are just looking at the fact that he's gonna try and cut into us. He's probably going to get 1 or 2 shots that might get a little bit close. But if he misses those, he will just simply die if he doesn't break off quickly enough. And you can tell he's turning into us pretty hard. He gained a lot of position in that, but it also cost him a lot of energy. And because he did that, we can now just start pulling him vertical. You saw that like the maneuver he did gave him an angle, but it cost him a lot of energy, and he already had a deficiency in it. He already had much less than us. So now we can just go straight up, and we are going to spiral this guy until he just breaks. He's having the wing vortices, he is stalling out completely, and we have about 1.5 kilometers on him, so we can very easily just don't have to burn, try to slow down a little bit, and try to make absolute sure that we are as close as humanly possible. But he's just too slow. There is no way he can go. We just click on him, we click on him again, and down goes the MiG-15. And here comes the second MiG-15. Now let's hope he can do the same thing as the first one. But he's already not going extremely fast, and we are going head on with him, which is very bad for him because we could have just gone straight up at that point. But he already gets crit in the merge, and at this point there's not much he can do. He is too slow. But what do you do when you are at a disadvantage? You of course turn directly to your SAM site, and it doesn't matter that he won't reach it. He rather goes to go to the SAM sites and neutralize all the position he had, and maybe get a potential dogfight off, maybe keep me busy until the F-25 comes in. That's coming in right now. Nah, instead you just fly straight towards the airfield and make sure you contribute as little as possible to the match at hand. We go ahead on with the F-25, and he is not going as fast as us. So what can we do? First of all, we're gonna turn away from the airfield to create a little bit of a space cushion. And then after he commits, we are just gonna pull him vertical, just like we have been with everyone this game. Or this video actually. And what is he gonna do? Not much, I can assure you. Because he's already been energy trapped, and we are on the 6. So we are getting a little bit of a deflection. But we have a lot more energy than him. So we dive on him, we shoot, we manage to get a hit. We air brake a little bit there, but that's only because we had such an advantage that I'd rather throw a little bit of energy away to get a shot in. Other than not get a shot continuously and eventually run out of room. Because I have to kill him. I can run these trains on him all day long, but at the end of the day, if I make one mistake and I haven't hit him at all, I'm the one that dies. Even though it's like playing football, having 90% ball possession, but the 4 times your enemy team got the ball, they scored 4 times. You don't want that to happen. Luckily he's too slow to start scoring goals now, so he goes down, he's about to touch some grass. And that's gonna be all I have for you today. Thank you all for watching, thank you Don't Say Easy for leaving the comments, and I'll see you all in the next one.